Good morning, Internet. How are you? I wanted to have a bit of a chat. I don't know. I had a lot of thinking over the weekend. As you know, our political system is kind of jacked up, and hopefully, those with sanity um, chose a better candidate. I have my skepticisms, but I'm not here to talk politics. I'm here to talk about choice and narcissism. When I first started this channel, it was a way for me to relieve my stress of what I've been through in the past, God knows how many decades of my life, dealing with people who are narcissistic, even though I didn't know what it was at the time. But even as a child, my gut always knew something was wrong. I have this story that I remember from my mother when I was a toddler, right? And she said she went to the grocery store and she turned her back, which I don't understand why she would tell me that. But that just shows you how narcissistic she was. And she turned her back to get something. And then when she went back to the cart, I was gone. And so she frantically looked all around the grocery store for me. But this woman came to her and she held me in her arms. And she looks at my mother and she says, "Is this yours? I think she's yours." And my mother is like, "Oh, thank you so much," and X, Y, and Z. But the woman kind of looked at her funny. I remember her telling me this and said, "It's very strange that a child, especially one so young, would reach out to a complete stranger instead of waiting for you." Now, you may ask, what is this story? How is this story relevant, right? Well, simple. I've realized now through my healing, through my going quote unquote supernova, I would say quote unquote being loving and caring and putting myself first, that narcissism is a choice. Now, the circumstances of narcissism is not a choice. We all go through trauma at some point in our lives, some more than others. I am not excluded from this. But I have realized that every single person that has ever been in my life who has mistreated me and been narcissistic towards me, they did so intentionally. And I know I say this a lot, but I really want to hit it home because I want you to look at the state of our country right now. Like I said, I'm not being political. This is just an observation of narcissism. Our current president is extraordinarily narcissistic, and he has a massive amount of flying monkeys. But now that the new president has been elected, have you noticed there's been a change of tune? Have you noticed that there has been less cruelty and more kind of sideway asking for forgiveness, sliding in that we are your friends now, sliding in that, 4 years ago we were in your situation, have empathy for us? You see, people who ask you to forgive them after they did you shitty are narcissistic, and they're playing on your narcissism. They're doing it in a choice, right? Narcissism is a choice. Now, some people may not believe it because they don't want to believe it, right? But I can tell you firsthand, not because I'm a psychologist, not because I'm a therapist, but because every person I've been with had certain traits. And I'm going to tell you a few. And I'm going to tell you that it was by choice they chose to enact on these traits. Every single person in my life who was a narcissist got in trouble by the law, somehow, some way. Some of them went to jail. Some of them were in court multiple times, but they always got in trouble somehow, some way on a legal level, right? My family members included. Second, when they couldn't get their way, when even back then, I had some boundaries, but they weren't as strong as they are now. But when I put up some boundaries, it was automatic that I was the problem and that I should forgive them. I should turn the other cheek. I should always have empathy towards those who made quote unquote mistakes. It's gaslighting, I guess. That's what they call it. But narcissistic people, when they fuck up, they're always quick to try and get you to forgive them. They always play on your empathy. They always tell you, what about Jesus? What about Buddha? What about Muhammad? What about whatever God that you believe in, if you believe in one and all? And how would they react? Right? Third is that I guess they call it love bombing. When they see that your boundaries are still up, then that's when they try to act lovey-dovey. They try to give you gifts. They try to do things in your favor. That's my cat, by the way. They try to be in your good graces. They try to test the waters and see if you'll forgive them. Last but not least, if none of that works, if they can't play you on your forgiveness, if they can't play on your vanity, then they have their tantrums. That's when you get the silent treatments, the verbal abuse, the physical abuse, or whatever. My point is, these things. But what I want to bring to light is that they do these things by choice. And you're saying, Supernova, that can't be. They have a clinical problem. Yeah, they do have a clinical problem that they intentionally use to get their fucking way. And I apologize to be so angry with this one today, but you have to sit there and you have that moment of clarity where you're like, wow, these people did this all by choice. And you say, how? How could they do it all by choice? Simple. Let me go back to the legal aspect. Let me go back to that. The moment they get in trouble with a neutral party who has no skin in the game, who can't be played, who doesn't know the emotional loops they can go through with these people, they act completely like upright, standing citizens. They have jobs. Some of them do have jobs. And you don't see them acting shitty like this to people who could fire them. You don't see them acting shitty like this to people who could put them in prison. You don't see them acting shitty like this to people who can sue them. They only do it with people that they selectively know will take it. And when they realize that you won't take it, they'll go to someone else. Now, doesn't that piss you off? I know it pisses me off, right? The people who are now supporting our president are seeing that a lot of the opposing sides is not taking their bull anymore. And they're like, no, you need to suffer this time, right? When you tell a narcissist that it's your turn to burn, they can't understand it. They're like, you always forgave me. Why can't you forgive me now? Because you're a moron. And you can't keep beating the same dog over the head and expect it not to bite the fuck out of you. Sorry. That's it for me today, Internet. Remember that you're in love with a person who's intentionally fucking with you. So keep that in mind, okay?